Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Chicago Bulls Keep, Waive or Trade, where we look at each individual Bulls player and discuss whether I personally would keep, waive or trade, potentially let them go if their contract is expiring from this Bulls team. And we're going to have to go quickly here, ladies and gentlemen. This is just my thoughts. Again, this will be the most difficult one I think I've ever done, considering so many people want so many different types of changes. So let's get started. Before we get any further, you like the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Bulls, whether or not you'd keep, waive, or trade. Let's get started with Henry Drell. I'd like to keep Henry Drell on this team. I think he's a confident player. He has really good size to his name as well. 6'9", very capable shooter. And I think confidence goes a long way. You can get confidence into your game. I think eventually that will give you the opportunity to play at some point in the NBA. I'd like to keep Henry Drell as part of our two-way contract spots. We've got Patrick Williams here. I'd like to keep Patrick Williams. I'd like to change the perception around Patrick Williams. I feel like too many people still believe that he has to be a superstar or he's just worthless for the Bulls. And look, the NBA is a 15-man roster team. Not everybody can be a superstar. It's as simple as that. And yes, considering that he was picked 4th, you could consider him a bust from where he actually was placed in the draft. But just because you might see him as a bust as a superstar, does not mean he doesn't add value to the team. We shouldn't be paying him like a superstar, but he could be a player that shows great two-way capabilities. You know, an example could be a guy like Jaden McDaniels for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm not comparing the two players in terms of where they are, because, again, it's not really a comparison. But a guy that can bring so much effort on the defensive end that could help slow a superstar players from another team down, like the Phoenix Suns, and can have something to say on the offensive end. That is something somewhere along the lines I'd like to see Patrick Williams kind of play, that type of role. I think that is what he could be good at the NBA level. And it still might take some time to get there, but that's what I see with him. And I'd like to keep him as that type of player. Let's move on. Dalen Terry, very skeptical about Dalen Terry. Big glaring part of his game, he can't shoot the 3-ball. You know, it's very, very bad. He doesn't have a great release. It always misses horribly. And he could do a lot of other things. But if you can't knock down a shot for the Bulls, especially as a forward for this team, that's going to generate problems. So, I'm going to say keep for this season, this upcoming season. But if that shot doesn't improve at all, there's going to be problems. And I do think I'd be more on the trade type of thing for Dalen Terry if improvements don't necessarily come soon. Javonte Green, I like Javonte Green. It's almost like never know how much you love them till you let him go. He had an injury last season, barely played. We've kind of forgot his value, therefore he didn't get re-signed. He comes back on a 10-day contract, and it's instantly like falling in love again. And that's kind of how I feel with Javonte Green. So if we have the chance, I'd like to keep him around. Again, he's not a long-term prospect because of his age, his experience, and stuff of that nature. But if you're trying to compete next season, I think he's a good player to have on your team. Adama Sanogo, I'd like to keep, and better yet, I'd like to change his two-way contract status to a regular NBA player status. I feel like that's a possibility we could go and do as a Bulls team. Reason being, well, look, there's two centers that I feel like are in jeopardy to lose their job for the Bulls, but I do think there's value in him in the NBA. Now, I'm not going to say he's a starter, because I think anybody that's saying he should be the future of the Bulls based on a one-game performance is ridiculous. He still has so much to prove, and he still has so many areas he needs to build up on. But I feel like that could be done off the bench, potential starting roles here or there, and work with some experienced centers. I think that could be his future at this point in time, and I'd like to see that happen. Onuralp Tim, I see some potential in Onuralp Tim. Again, he's 24 years old, I believe, and he's a rookie at the NBA level. I think he can produce a lot, but we haven't seen it quite yet. And I want to give Onuralp Tim at least another season for that to kind of happen, so I would keep Onuralp Tim. Julian Phillips is a rookie. He did very, very well in his rookie season, I would say, considering where we selected him. I'd like to keep him around. It's not even a discussion at this point. I definitely think he's staying. Torrey Craig, I think this one depends. He had a good first half of the season, a very lackluster second half of the season, 2 months in between where he was injured. This depends on whether or not you're trying to compete or not. You could keep him if you're trying to compete, because I think he does add value to a competitive team, or I think you could trade him if you go younger. I would actually lean more towards trading Torrey Craig, because I do believe you can find someone that can do his job. if you do decide to trade him. He will add. He does have value on the trade market, I believe. I really would consider that he does have some value there. And it might be worth exploring. And I would consider trading him because you could potentially find a replacement. And I really do believe that is possible. So I'm leaning more towards trade, but I wouldn't be opposed to keeping him. Io, recently re-signed. Not necessarily too fussed about this one. I would keep Io Dosumu. Decent breakout season for him this season. And there's so much room to improve for next season. He's another type of player. I don't see he's a superstar, but can go off and can produce. And can be a good player that could, determine a playoff series. Those types of players. I'd consider him to a Josh Hart type of player, Someone that could come in and make a difference, make a glaring difference to a series, even if he's not seen as a superstar. DeMar DeRozan, this one depends. If he's asking for $40 million a season, I would let him go. Again, at some point, you have to think about the team first. And giving DeMar DeRozan $40 million, I personally don't think is thinking about the team first. There's so many changes we have to make that $40 million for one player at this point in time is too risky. If he wants to take a team-friendly deal, or even the same deal he was on, I would welcome him back, because I do see the value in having a DeRozan on this team, but there's changes that need to happen all around him. And I think that is as simple as it gets. So, for $40 million, let go. For the team money he's on, I'd keep him. Vucevic, I think it's time to trade Vucevic. He's had a lot of seasons here for the Bulls. He didn't really get to his Orlando Magic level. To be fair, he was the third option here, so you can't really ask him to get to that level as the third option. But there's glaring weaknesses to his game that I think is hindering the Bulls. Weaknesses on the defensive end, shot blocking, awareness. He gets frustrated very easily with his stupid reach-in fouls. All those things definitely provide hindrances for the Bulls. But again, we have to change the core. I think that's very simple. And I think, therefore, Vucevic has to go. I could see the benefit of keeping him. But again, very similar to DeMar. If you're going to keep Vucevic, you need people to help Vucevic. You need people that can hide his weaknesses. You need people that can make his game worth it for the Bulls. So far, we just don't have that team around him. So maybe it's better to consider him as a trade asset. Zach LaVine, keep this short and simple. I like Zach. He's on a lot of money. He doesn't want to be here. Trade. Simple as that. Trade him. Part of the core. Could bring some big changes to the team. And we're going to have to move on with what we have there. Caruso, I would consider keeping. I like Alex Caruso, an All-NBA type of defender on a very decent deal. And if you're trying to compete, no other place to be than Chicago, I would say. Keep him here. Build a team around him where he could be very valuable on the defensive end. I think he could be a difference in a playoff series if we give him the chance. Javon Carter, first season very underwhelming. He's not a young player by any stretch of the means. I'd consider trading him. We saw a lot of hype around Javon Carter as that next Patrick Beverley type of player. Don't think he's lived up to that expectation at any points. So I would consider trading him. He's on a cheap contract, so I think it's possible to do. Drummond, ultimately I'd like to keep Drummond, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to end up leaving us. So I'll say keep, with the full understanding that I think there's going to be a team that's going to offer him more money and a potential starting role in the future. And I think he's going to lean more towards that position than the Bulls position. But if there's no other options available for him, if we're the only place that he can stay for, then I'd welcome him back. Lonzo, making $21 million. Again, he's injured. He could potentially come back next season. We're not going to waive him, so there's no point even making that argument. So I think we should keep him. So, yeah, we'll move on from that one. Kobe White, all-star level, not all-star level, a most improved level player, potential to be an all-star player. I would consider keeping him. Again, there's still so much we need to see. He has so much improvements he needs to make still. I still think he could improve ball handling and improve his finishing around the rim, improve his consistency in general. He's said he needs to improve his endurance. So all these things need to happen for him. But the glimpses we've seen brings a big smile on my face. There's something there with Kobe White, and I wanted to see that fulfilled with the Bulls. We got Andrew Funk as part of the roster as well. I'll be honest, I like Andrew Funk. I think he could be a decent player, but I would actually consider waiving him. Reason being, too many guards. I just can't see where he's going to get his opportunity to play. So I was considering waiving him and bringing a two-way contract player that's more of a forward or a center and try to bolster that part of our team. So that's what I'd think about Funk. But that's it. That's the entire team. Hopefully I didn't forget anyone. And what do you think? I tried to do this in under 10 minutes as well, so I'm exhausted. Thank you for watching. Drop a like and a follow and or subscribe if you are new. See you in the next one. Take care. and peace.